Hey, buddy, Happy New Year. Happy New Year, buddy. Happy New Year, everybody. Hey, Happy New Year.
Hey,
Hey,
Happy New
Happy New Year.
Year.
Man, how was Christmas, dude? How was Christmas? Did you get to go? How was Mom? Did
Oh yeah, I didn't get to go.
what?
Yeah, the winter storm that took over America canceled my flights, and there was no alternative flights for neither Seattle or Portland. I tried both of them, but both those airports were frozen.
Were you like on? Was it just weather, or did you get caught up in like all that Southwest shit?
No. I don't fly Southwest, so I did. It was just weather.
Oh, sorry. Let me. I don't want to accuse you of being somebody who flies Southwest.
Yeah, I mean, they are pretty terrible. So, I would never fly with them.
I have a friend who was coming from Seattle to Los Angeles the same time you were trying to go from LA to Seattle, and luckily they got out. They were like one of the last planes that got to come because they just stopped having anybody come in, and apparently it was a madhouse at the airport. Apparently
Yeah.
it was shitty for just a lot of people
Mhm.
recently. So what'd you do? Did you just like have like a quaint little Christmas situation?
Yeah, pretty much. Stayed home and Christmas. How was your Christmas?
Dude. We're doing good acting right now. We both know what happened.
Yeah.
We're just for the record. Man, I had a shitty holiday.
Yeah, tell me about it. Hit me up.
So, it's December 24th, Christmas
Mhm.
Eve. Everybody's feeling a little bit merry. I'm playing on my speakers in my room a Nintendo Winter Songs playlist, you know?
Okay.
Basically, I was listening to a bunch of Snow Levels. I was feeling
Mhm.
good. I was wrapping gifts for tomorrow, and my dad comes into my room, and he's like, "God, I just woke up from a nap, and like I'm kind of cold. I think I might have a fever." And literally everybody knows where the story is going now. But I look at him and I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, I don't know. I don't feel that well." And no, like the reason that we did last podcast a little bit late is because I was sick and my mom was sick. There was like a cold going around, and I'm like, "Oh, we
Yeah.
probably gave you that head cold that I think everybody in Southern California had in the last month." And he's like, "Yeah, it's probably just a cold." Anywho, I'm gonna go to Walmart. I have to get oil for the car, and I'm like, again, I just look at him like, one, get out of my room. Two, what? He's like, "Yeah, the car's low on oil. I have to change it," which is just crazy to me that this is how this man's brain works, because he just went from telling me like, "I think I had a fever," to the oil has to be changed now.
Yeah, I'm gonna go out in public with my obvious sickness that I have.
Yeah, it's like, "Oh, I'll wear a mask," and I'm like, "Hey, why don't you just, I don't know, take a COVID test before you go to Walmart, just for the public safety thing." He's like, "Oh, yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah, that couldn't hurt." And that motherfucker COVID test lit up redder than Rudolph's goddamn nose on Christmas Eve to go be merry, except instead of merry like a reindeer, it was like one of those instant tests where you put a little bit of a dropper fluid on and it screams at you that you have COVID. And I'm like, well, this sucks. So it was his first time, and I live with my parents, and we did not participate in any Christmas festivities. We didn't see any of the family members, like not even my sister. Everybody had a little shindig without us. And we stayed home all day and did basically nothing. I cooked a little bit with my mom. We sous vide a prime rib. That was nice. But she mostly did the work. If she ever listens to this, she'll be really mad that I didn't credit her. But
Of course she did.
I played Peglin, and it was very quiet and kind of sad. It's the first Christmas where I didn't like open a gift. we're saving it for like a makeup Christmas date, which is probably going to be next weekend.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was it was kind of melancholy.
Well, yeah, that sounds somewhat similar to mine. Though we had the heads up and we weren't sick, so we on Christmas Eve we went Christmas shopping for each other at the
Okay.
mall.
Okay.
I got Ellie some jewelry. I got some cologne, and that was kind of so. At least we did have presents that we opened up that we bought in front of each other. So it's not like there was any surprise.
That's peak
But yeah,
romance.
all the other presents are. In fact, we shipped a bunch of presents. Like we bought stuff off of Amazon for Christmas and shipped it directly to my mom. So there's just a bunch of stuff there. So yeah, we're gonna go up. I think after I come back from the first season of the DPC, I think we're gonna go visit my mom and do a go see her and do, I guess, a makeup Christmas sort of deal.
Yeah, you should aggressively lean into it and just pretend the whole day is Christmas. I think that's what I'm gonna do. We're gonna do like Santa hats and Christmas music and just really do a full lean in.
My mom and I are not that try hard, so I doubt that's gonna happen. I think I did tell her to leave the Christmas tree. She asked, "Should I leave the Christmas tree up until you come visit?" I was like, "Yeah, sure, why not?"
There's a little.
I don't
bit of
care,
something.
but Ellie will like it. So
That's fair. You were very kind. You told me that you were gonna be stuck at home, like basically on Christmas Eve, and you're like, "Do you want to do anything?" And I'm like, "Sure." And then I think it couldn't have been more than like 3 hours before I said, "Actually, no."
Yeah, we were gonna do board games. We did board games, I think, twice so far over the like this week, but I think on Christmas Day, Hotbid was supposed to come over, and I think he canceled. But yeah, we played board games a couple times over the week that we were here for Christmas. Didn't really do anything for New Year's. Kind of setting up for traveling again. New season is upon us.
Yeah, I'm packing right now. I had today was our first day back at work, and now I'm taking the rest of the week off because I'm going to a bachelor party in the snow. But so
What the fuck?
Okay, so hear me out. Last week, unnamed unknown company I work for, not I whatever.
What?
I don't want to slander anybody directly.
Okay.
Yeah, whatever. We got
He says with the fucking bracelet on his wrist. Go on. Yeah.
2 weeks off for the holidays.
Yeah. Okay.
This week,
Nice.
1 week off for the holiday.
Or you mean this year?
This year, 1 week off.
Oh.
So I don't know. I guess I shouldn't. Some companies do, only Christmas off, right? Like, I mean, who am I to complain? But I'm just saying that it doesn't go unnoticed when you cut the time in half. So I am going to the snow in protest that Christmas break should be 2 weeks long.
And you're doing bachelor's party?
Yeah, though I'm
another one? I feel like you've gone to so many of them recently.
Everybody is getting married. Everybody's getting married.
It's your turn, Joey.
And I'm not even dating anybody. If anybody was curious on an update on that front, there is zero prospects. Dude, everybody's getting married. I turned 30 in 2 weeks. Less than 2 weeks. Everything sucks. Everything sucks. I wanna cry. I spent the entire week just like laying in bed contemplating life while watching all the television and movies that I didn't get to watch from this last year. So that was good. And I've been playing Slay the Spire again in conjunction with all that. I've decided that I'm going to do an Ascension 20 run.
Oh, nice. The Slay the Spire with the mod that they put into the game, the Downfall mod, very, very good. Highly recommend that. I've been playing The Last Spell again, which is I guess the technical term is a tactical RPG. Basically think Final Fantasy Tactics, roguelike. So I've been playing that again. I played it a year ago, and it's still in early access. But it is very, very. I would highly recommend it. I think it's a very good game. And I think it's closing in on release. So I think most of the content is in the game now.
I'll have to put that on my list. I've played a little bit of Peglin again, which
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
which got like a big patch since I played it like last 6 months ago, and is still in early access, and I'm pretty happy with how that's been developing too. So
Yeah, you get gold now.
yeah, I
Farming gold.
didn't know that was a thing, but it's a thing. Um, if anybody's curious, I watched Bullet Train and didn't like it.
Yeah. Oh, you didn't like it? Oh, I thought it was great.
I thought it was pretty mid. I was so bummed out because there's so many things in that movie that I think I would have liked or like should like. Like the fuck it's beautiful. I love the nonsensical cutaways. I like Brad Pitt. I like the setting. I like the gratuitous amounts of violence and silliness. Like all those things are things that I love, but it felt like two derivatives down from a Tarantino movie, and it just didn't all come together for me.
Huh.
Yeah.
I thought it was great. I watched it on a plane. I was like, it was just one of those surprise, really good plane movies.
Hmm.
I had a great time.
Yeah.
So
I watched Banshees of Inisherin, the new Colin Farrell movie. That's the movie from last year that people should watch.
okay.
That's the one. That's the one.
What do you want to talk about this week?
Dude, you said you're going to the DPC, but like, that's like a thing? Or do we know who's working those events? Is that like,
so I turned out the stream to do this podcast, and I hosted Lyrical because I saw it showed up on my Twitter feed that he was like going live, and he's gonna, he said something about getting some MMR, and I was just like, what the fuck? It's currently 11 p.m. on the West Coast, which is where I know Gabe lives. So I was like, what the fuck? Is he like changing his sleep schedule preemptively? And then I click on a stream and it was daylight out. It was by a window and it was clearly daylight out. And before the stream loaded, I was like, what are you doing awake? I typed it in his chat real quick. And and he was like, I'm playing on a different server right now. Like, so he has already flown over to Europe and is there to cast the DPC, and they still haven't announced the dawn. I have no idea why. I know that for my situation, there was only like we're just now kind of confirming everything. I don't think they'll have a problem with me saying it. I'm going to be doing Southeast Asia and maybe some Eastern Europe. The whole Eastern Europe thing is kind of up in the air right now, but I'll be casting Southeast Asia with EPOLs. So I'm going to Kuala Lumpur in a couple of days. So I'll be spending 3 weeks there. That'll be interesting.
This is probably a conversation we should have off the podcast. Are you going to have extra room in your suitcase when you come back?
Yes, maybe I can.
Okay, because there's like, when we were in Singapore, I found like these lentil chips that I really liked, and I cannot get them in Los Angeles, and it's killing me that I can't find them. It's about the size of a Pringles can, so if you have like a Pringles can size, I think they even sell them at 7. It should be easy, and like not a requirement, like not even like a, just if it happens to like work out that you're in a convenience store and have a Pringle sized hole in your suitcase coming back home, we can talk about that not on the show, but just while it's in my head.
No.
Going fuck. Again, we can talk about it after the show.
Yeah, the answer will still be no. Talk to me all you want on or off the air, Joey. I'm not bringing you fucking chips from Malaysia. What the hell? Out of all the things you wanted me to lug over thousands of miles, chips?
They're gluten-free. What if... Yeah, that's a benefit. They're Papa Doms for anybody who's curious. That's cool. So I'm assuming that means that you're going with Avery, and you guys are gonna do a thing there? Cool.
Yep. We're gonna be casting together. I offered to do some hosting, but it sounds like I'll just be doing casting, which is my favorite. Last week we talked about the South American DPC and that whole thing. I actually saw that. Funny enough, that ended up going up on Reddit. The only reason I'm bringing this up is it showed up on Reddit because there was a tweet, and the tweet was it was an English translation of a Spanish article that I saw. I clicked on it, and they had directly taken their article and they used their source was a article written in Russian that obviously came from our podcast in English. So it made the full loop back. It went from English podcast to Russian article to Spanish article to English translation of Spanish article.
To then back on
or English translation of Spanish tweet that was for the article. So
yeah, I'm assuming that the journalistic integrity of that game of telephone might not have been sound, and maybe a couple things got lost in translation or 5 translations.
Yeah, the title basically everyone thought it meant that like I wanted to cast the SADPC when it was, I mean, it was like pretty harmless. That little game of telephone. I just thought it was pretty funny. It wasn't like this podcast got leaked. So the no Reddit rule somehow, like, you know, it really fucking it really kept people at bay.
Went around. Yeah, thank you everybody for following that. Yeah, I don't think we so we said a lot of things last time that could have got a lot of press, and it like did, but in like the weirdest way, because I also noticed that some friends of our streamer friends were kind of talking about it on Reddit and showing up and hanging out a little bit. So like I know that happened, and there was like Reddit comments, and I know that the Brazilian thing happened and there were some comments, but like nothing directly linking to any time codes here. So chef kiss to everybody.
Yeah, if only there were timestamps on this podcast. I have 2 people volunteered to do timestamps, by the way. I said we'd maybe throw them a little bit of money.
Tell them I will talk to them. Okay, so the people who want timestamps probably aren't listening to this right now, but they're not. For the court, I was doing them for a hot minute, and then I got lazy and stopped doing them when I was posting the podcast at 2 a.m. because it takes about 30 minutes to like do it like well and properly. So I'm going to exert effort to do them better.
Or just get somebody else to do it. I just give them access to the YouTube.
Or even if they just gave them to me, I could very easily like copy and paste them and put them in. Anybody, I mean,
you could. I bet you could literally just make them a YouTube editor, and you could post the podcast whenever it goes out, and then they could just, you know, like they wake up the next morning or whatever, they see the podcast, and whenever they've got the time, they put in the timestamps. It doesn't need to be there as soon as the video is put out.
It's a call to action if anybody's interested in that. I know you said there are some people who talked about it. Just you know where to find me.
Hardcore podcast listeners, hardcore side pullers.
Thank you, hardcore pullers. They're hardcore pullers.
All right, I got a topic I want to talk about this week.
Okay.
You already know about some of this topic.
Okay.
But I will still pose you with the hypothetical.
Okay.
What would you do?
Am I playing a character here? Am I myself?
No. Okay. You're playing yourself.
Okay.
Make it easy on you.
Okay.
What would you do if, for whatever reason, you left Team Liquid and you were looking, you were putting in applications for a job? Mm-hmm. One of the job, you have an interview. You do the interview, think it goes well. And then later on, they do kind of like a callback, and they want to call you in for like the second round of interviews. But in the process of like, hey, we loved to, it was a great interview. Want to be able to talk to you more. This time we're gonna bring in our VP or whatever, and we'll do a second round of interviews. We've narrowed down the candidates between. It's probably like 3 people left. Oh, and hey, by the way, one of my associates says you might be racist. What would you do?
Oh boy. I would be like, is this a test. Like I'm not, and I'd
This
be
is a prank.
curious to I'd be curious to talk more about it. Because I'm curious where you're getting that information from, and also just to unilaterally dispute it. Because like that's such a hard thing to be thrown out in like a professional setting. Like, oh, like, okay, so you're like, top 3 candidate, things are looking, interesting. But
We want to work with you. Yeah.
have some
Mm-hmm.
concerns, don't know how many, just we're with boys here. How many slurs have you said lately?
How many how many ethnicities do you think you you
Do you
hate?
like? Yeah,
Is there-
or like, how many do you like?
or like,
Yeah.
there's positive racism too.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to respond to that aside from just like a very quick and stern like that's not true.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I'd love to find out who is saying it. That's probably the
Yeah.
important thing, because really, like, not only does that mean that like people are having these conversations, that means that like someone either genuinely thinks that, or there is like some agent of evil who is trying to be some kind of saboteur. And either of those are like not good, and that probably leaves a little nugget of anxiety in your brain if you don't know who the person
Yeah.
is.
No, for my case, it was extreme anxiety. It was like, I mean, okay, maybe it wasn't extreme, but it was definitely like I no longer cared about the interview that we, the conversation. I was like, wait, what? Hold up, I don't care about anything else. What do you mean? This isn't a side note thing. This isn't a like, no, I promise I'm not racist. Like, oh, okay, no big deal. Let's move on. Like that. I was like, full stop. Like, what? And yeah, so that basically happened to me. I don't want to go into too many
I
details,
don't think
but
it's professional
basically,
to even bring up in the interview. Like there has to be
well,
a better way to. I don't. That feels.
I mean, okay, I actually feel the opposite. I actually feel like it is something that you do need to bring up, and it should have been like, in my opinion, this should have been like, okay, this needs to be cleared up before we go any further, sort of way.
Like at the top, like, hey, yeah.
Like if you were hiring somebody and you just heard like this rumor of like, yeah, they might be racist. Well, like, wouldn't that be like, okay, there's no way we're hiring this person until we like 100% clear this?
Yeah, I think that I would try and have that conversation if I was hiring somebody and that accusation was thrown against them, and I suspected it wasn't true for any reason. I would probably look for neutrals to talk to about that before talking to the person. It would probably like a references thing, like, which is generally part of interviews anyways, is like talking to some references, right? So
So one of the things you said was that you were like, I would want to get to like the source of this, right?
yeah.
What if there was no source? It was just a vague rumor.
Yeah, that doesn't help the anxiety problem, because
No.
because like rumors don't just manifest. Like
Yeah, no, they
someone
don't.
has to say something, or have
Yeah.
information from somewhere, misinformation from somewhere, or like just again be an agent of chaos. So like I don't. How are you dealing with that?
Okay. So again, I don't want to go into too many details about like where this happened and who I talked to and like, but yes, I definitely did what you were talking about, which is that I wanted to know like the source of this, because I was like 100% no. First of
Yeah.
all, no, absolutely not. And also, this is super concerning to me because I like obviously I'm not racist, but like, how do you prove that you're not racist? Like all of a sudden, like I like in some world, like you always make fun of oh, I have a black friend. You make fun of that person, right? Who like points to like, oh, I can't be racist. Like I have a friend who's black. Like they do that sort of thing. But like all of a sudden, I like understood. I was just like how do I point that I'm not racist?
You just like have to have a
Like,
clean record, I guess, and like people to.
yeah, like literally, I was going through. I was like, I was thinking like, in my defense way, like, I was thinking about my associations with people, and I was just like, oh my God, I'm one step away from saying, like, I can't be racist. Like, I've got this, like, that's exactly the situation. I was just like, how do I defend against this? Like, what do I even do? So yeah, that was an entire thing. That was a bit of a drama for a full 24 hours. Pretty much what it came back to me that I understood was that this was just a vague rumor from some people that like are probably not in the scene anymore, which is why it's a vague rumor because maybe the people who said it are not even in the scene anymore. So but yeah, there's just this vague sort of thing out there. And I definitely asked around a little bit and was like, hey, what the fuck?
Hey, does anybody know about
I've heard
this?
this about me. Like, have you heard about this? Like, is this a thing? Do people think this? So yeah. So then the other thing that I did was that I went through because like obviously the situation we're talking about, it has to be involving Dota in some way, right? So I have streamed all of my games. I have played a lot of Dota
Hmm.
in USC's matchmaking.
Yeah,
And
thousands of
the
games.
reason this blew my mind was because I was just like, I know how much racism, especially back in the day, used to happen in the USC server. And like, like the Western Europeans always complain about Russians, North Americans always complain about South Americans, and vice versa, right? And I was never one of those people. So that's why it would like bother me so much. I was just like, what? But I've never been that person who've been like, oh, fucking, Peruvians ruining my, like, I was never that. So I was just like, how the fuck could this even happen? I've also streamed like almost all my Dota games since like 2012 or something like that. Like if I ever did something like that, surely it would be public, right?
Can can
And so the next step I did was I went through my all chat history. I actually had to go.
Oh no.
Yeah. I went through my all chat history. That was my next step. And, and let me just say, there were some interesting things that popped up, Joey.
That also means that you have to type in about a lot of bad words into the CTRL-F field
Yes.
just to,
Yes.
and you start typing some letters and you're like, well, the first two come up. I hope the third one doesn't.
Some of the words you don't even finish because it's like feels really weird typing them out all the way. You're just like, this feels a little dirty. But so I did that. That was the next step of like clearing, like to make sure, like, did I just like black out at some point in time? Like, also, this is a really old rumor, right? So like literally it could go back like 7 to 10 years, apparently. Like somewhere in that time frame,
Jeez,
which is
ooh.
before I was even a talent, right? So it's like, okay,
Can I propose a hypothesis?
can you what?
I want to propose a hypothesis here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Somebody has never seen you work or play a Dota game ever. And the only thing they have ever seen from you is the Curb Your Enthusiasm Nigma gaming clip.
No, it's not that. It is not that because it is racist against a specific. I already basically kind of talked about it, but racist against South Americans.
Okay. I
Yeah,
didn't even
so
pick
it's
up.
not
Yeah.
that. It is not that one. So, but yeah, that was a thing that like happened that like freaked me out for a full 24 hours. I got basically a little bit more information and it just seems like some old vague rumor that I basically have no way to contest, and so like there's really nothing I could do about it. But
That means it would have
yeah,
to be Dota related too, because that's even like to the point of being a stereotype for playing on like the servers, right? Is that
yeah,
people don't like Peruvian players or whatnot.
yeah. All I can think is I must have like I either pissed somebody off and they decided to maliciously spread this rumor, or I got angry at somebody, which I do and I have done, and
Mm-hmm.
like I've never been racist and I've never been sexist, but I have been mean to people. There's no doubt. And so maybe they took that meanness and like translated into it being a race issue rather than a you're annoying me, fuck off issue.
This is where you like roll your sleeve up, right, and reveal that you like got a Brazilian tattoo, like you have Christ the Redeemer on your bicep, and you're like, look, everybody, I not only have a black friend, I know where Rio is, and then you can't be racist anymore.
Yeah.
God, that's spooky.
Yeah.
But
yeah. I think it is spooky.
It's spooky, but it also sounds like you might have enough information to, well, I mean, like, you know that it's not true, but also just like potentially be a little bit at peace with it, because if there's not somebody like immediately and directly and recently attacking you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think I'm in a pretty good spot about it now. But there was this period of time where I was thinking like there was somebody specifically spreading this rumor. And like I definitely did the thing where I was like I got simultaneously mad and like concerned that I hurt someone's feelings. Because if I was like I definitely don't ever remember being racist. Like I am not racist, but I don't remember ever like, saying something that could be borderline racist, right? Yeah. But it could be that I did hurt someone's feelings and I made them feel like maybe they legitimately felt like I was being racist or something. And so I definitely was like, oh fuck, like what if I legitimately like hurt someone's feelings and, like, oh man, I feel bad. And I just fluctuated from being like angry and being concerned that I like maybe legitimately hurt someone's feelings more than just, the normal amount, I guess, in online video games.
So I'm thinking about naturally how to like best promote the podcast for more people who might want to listen to it. And generally, some ways to do that is to, have like a salacious YouTube title. That,
is Cap like, racist?
Or like Cap... Yeah, like, is Cap racist? Question mark, with a picture of you going like,
Cap confronts racist rumors.
Yeah, like that will probably get a lot of clicks, but it might not help the situation. So
no, I don't think so either.
I guess
being said,
I guess I'll avoid that. But
so I did go through my all chat history, right, which was like one of the ways. Right, that obviously can't negate like all of it, but combination of like me streaming all of my fucking Dota games that I play, and the fact that I'm a pretty public figure in Dota, and the fact that I could check my chat history, I was like, okay, all of these things are gonna like give me some peace of mind. And I went back through my all chat, and there was I definitely did what you were talking about, which was Control F, and I went through all the naughty words, and every single time it came up 0 out of 0. I was like, whew. Okay, good. Like, I don't remember saying these things, but, it's nice to just be like, 10 years. 10 years,
what if I went to the bathroom and
ago,
Ellie was on my keyboard? Then I don't know.
Yeah, my cat jumped on my keyboard. Just happened to say no, but there were 2 words that came up that did concern me, and this is just going to be a general trigger warning. I'm going to be using some harsh language here. If you want to skip 5 minutes. One word, which I was very disappointed to see in this list, because I know I have used this word probably about 15 years ago when I was a teenager. It was very commonly used gamer language. It's great. I found that word. I controlled F and I put that in, and I found 1 out of 1. And I was like, oh no. Like, oh. God, I can't believe I used that word. Like, oh man, that's just terrible. And then I went to the word, and it was camera person. What the fuck? I've never been trolled so hard in my life by a Control F before. Jesus Christ. Anyway, so that happened. Camera person. Yeah, now everybody's visualizing the word camera person and going, oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't put that space in there.
Yeah. So that was definitely one moment where I was just like, oh fuck. Like, oh man, that sucks. And then I did a different one. Uh, and this one was the F slur for
Mm.
gay slur. I don't know. I can't use it again. But that was another word that obviously I used to use. Most people in like basically our generation very frequently used in like the early
If
2000s.
I can go back and kick the shit out of myself in high school, I would.
Yeah,
I would.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so I found that, and this time it was actually the word. There was no trickery there. But it did only say there was only one instance of it. And I was just like, oh man, like once again, I went through that thing of like, geez, like I know I used to use that word, but like I really hope to that like by the 2012, 2013, it worked out of my vocabulary. I remember there distinctly somewhere in that period of time of like 2011, 2012 that I'd been like,
Hmm.
I'm definitely not using this word anymore. And then I found that, and I was just like, oh man, I wanted to be able to go back and like see how long ago it
The
was, but
context,
yeah, exactly. But I couldn't find anything like that. But then I did notice that there were some other words next to it,
like,
and one of the other words, which is only one instance, was homophobic. And at first, I thought it was just ironic. I was just like, well, then I guess that's the difference between old me and new me. Uh,
that's the exact moment when you changed, right? Right,
it
right
was
between
just
those two
bam,
words. Yeah.
just like divine intervention came and struck me like a bolt of lightning in that moment. And then I talked to shout out to Dave Grohl.
Yeah.
He
There goes
has
my
some
hero.
knowledge about these things, and I asked him about this, and I was like, do these words, like when it's listed, are they listed in a certain way? Like, is it possible that these two words are connected? And he said, yeah, it's probably the first instance of when a word was used. So the first time I used that word was also the same time I used homophobic, which probably means that I was telling somebody, hey, don't say that. It's homophobic. And I actually, when those pieced together, I had this dinging moment in my fucking memory. I was just like, wait a minute. I do remember saying that because I also remember when I all chatted that, I was like, oh no, now that word's going to be in my all chat history. I remember that moment of being like, I probably shouldn't have said that exactly, but like, it'll be fine. I'm sure it'll never come up.
And here you are. Here you are.
And
Yeah.
here I am.
You were like playing Treant Protector and like a core off lane role, and then suddenly you just have all these memories. It's just bubbling up. You can like picture the lane again. Man. Um, have you ever like gone back and just scrubbed old social media posts without even like paying too much attention to them, but just like cold them?
I think I think I deleted my Facebook, but I deleted all my old posts, I think, on my personal Facebook. I didn't try very hard about it because I don't think there was anything bad in there, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Just cringy.
Oh
Um,
yeah, that's what I did that
yeah, it
somewhat
was
recently.
a lot of posting of military stuff. When I joined the military, like you become real gung ho, and so there was a lot of posting of military stuff. And then looking back on it, it's so cringy. So I definitely deleted all of that, but I haven't really gone through that sort of thing, to be honest. Like I only like all I can the first thing that comes to mind when it comes to like I think of like my teenage basically years and like when I would have used language like that is Ventrilo. That's literally like that's
Yeah,
the first program that comes to mind. I don't really think I was that way on social media in any way or anything like that. And to be honest, I wasn't really that way just in general. Like never really
I had a
like
lot
when
of
it came to the F slur, right? It was
yeah.
vernacular. It had nothing to do with being homophobic. It just at some point in time I realized I shouldn't use that word because people might think I'm homophobic. Or more
Or it's shitty.
specifically, yeah, more specifically, it was I remember basically in high school I had a friend who I played tennis with, and I do remember sometime after we graduated high school that he came out. Um, and I remember there were so many rumors in high school that he was gay. And I remember asking him, I was like, hey, it's like, I don't really care. And, or actually, I don't even think he asked. I didn't even ask him. He volunteered that information. He said, like, I know people say this, but I'm not. I was just like, I don't really care. Whatever, man. But I remember telling other people, like, no, he's not because he told me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he came out later, which just meant that, like, even though I thought he was being honest with me, he was afraid of, like, he didn't, like, believe that I would be an ally, I guess, in that regard.
Or
Like,
he
he
wasn't
wasn't
ready.
comfortable. Yeah, sure, maybe he just wasn't ready or something like that. But either way, like, he didn't tell me the truth in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, so I always think back to that, and it's just like, I always think back and be like, man, I hope I never said anything that, like, made him feel bad about himself and his identity. I always think of that person. His name is Daryl. So that was definitely, like, one of those moments where I was like, hey, I should probably stop doing that because I don't care if people are homosexual. It's all love. So I should stop using that language
I
because people might take offense at that and feel bad about themselves. And that's what I don't want.
Yeah, I wish someone beat the shit out of me, and like my friends or like anybody would have clued us into just being better about that, because like high school was pretty poor for that language in particular.
Oh, yeah.
I had a moment, I forget who it was, who it was probably like 6 years ago at this point, who canceled themselves, like Kevin Hart or someone, for being shitty or racist on Twitter. And I had the thought of like, I should really look at my old tweets, and I found nothing. I found no racism, no slurs, nothing bad. Even though I had Twitter in high school, and like it could have been a possibility.
Mhm.
That I would have said that in specific, but all I found was like cringy posts, like tweeting at like Olivia Munn about how good she looked on TV that
Oh,
day.
no.
And
Oh, no. You were that guy, Joey.
have you ever embarrassed?
Oh,
God, I might cut this.
no.
Have you ever like embarrassed yourself like that hard by looking at something old you wrote? Because
Ah, shit.
I'm like these cannot be on the internet. They cannot be on the internet. It's really bad. It's really embarrassing. And then I went through Facebook and I'm like, oh, there's like cringy stuff here. Like really cringy stuff here too. So I just deleted like all of it. Because I'm like, I don't know if many of these memories are worth saving, because I can't look at them without getting like physically ill. It's like the cringe subreddit and like a whole season of
Uh,
Nathan For You had a baby, and then that was injected into my eyeballs, is how much I wanted to just like hide under the covers at some of my original tweets. So
that's great.
yeah.
No. To answer your question, no. I don't think that again, maybe I just haven't actually gone back and looked thoroughly enough, but I'm fairly certain. I don't even know where I would find that stuff, to be honest. Like, again, Facebook, I deleted my Facebook and MySpace, I guess. I don't even know how to go back and get that.
It
So
doesn't
it's,
exist. Yeah.
well, so I have not looked, but I can't think of ever doing that specifically, Joey.
I would just encourage anybody who's listening who has, I don't know, an hour to kill,
Hmm.
and has had Twitter for, let's just say, 10 years. Anybody who's had Twitter for 10 years, I dare you to just go back and just go to some of the first posts, which you can do. You can like use Twitter search, or there's like services that you can like see your old tweets first, like reverse timeline. Just like see if you can find some of the old stuff you tweeted, people, and then let us know in Discord how. And you don't have to share the tweet. Don't feel like you don't have to share the tweet with me. But I just want to know how it makes you feel to look at 10-year-old tweets.
Do you think that you thought that she would ever respond to you? Is that why you were doing it?
I honestly
I
like
feel like we're breaking Joey's brain right now.
no. Like I'm pausing, which I realize is bad for an audio medium,
Uh-huh.
because I'm actually trying to think if that's true. And I don't think so, but there was definitely so there was a period in like very early Twitter where like normal celebrity interaction was like sometimes they would wish people a happy birthday. Like there was a lot of early Twitter like, hey, uh, uh, uh hey Kanye, it's my birthday, and Kanye would be like, happy birthday. And yeah, you still see some of that sometime. So I think that that's probably some of it because I knew that interaction existed. That also I watched a lot of her and like other people's stuff on Twitter. You know what? I did have Twitter interaction a couple of times with some of the Mythbusters cast, like Carrie and Grant.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I knew that it was a thing that was like people saw them potentially.
Sure.
So maybe I don't think I'm confident saying my main objective was not a response, so I could like go swoon and then masturbate. It was just like I'm interacting with people.
I see.
Yeah,
that's pretty funny.
Oh god, having this conversation makes me want to like 100% confirm that I deleted everything. It also makes me want to look at my Dota all chat history because I don't know. Now I'm like, did I say anything bad in there? I don't think so. I'm pretty sure I didn't.
If you want to know how to do it, I figured it out, so I can help you figure it out as well.
Maybe ignorance is bliss. No one look it up. My Steam ID is private. Unless there's anything else you got this week, friend, I think we can take a Patreon question, then bring it home.
We got a little bit of Dota stuff.
A little bit of Dota stuff.
Yeah, there's some. I mean, just general. I don't even know if we really have an opinion on this, but there have been teams getting disqualified. From the DPC. In fact, the latest one, the NA squad Legacy with Lil Nick and a bunch of other names that you would know if you're in North America. But he's probably the biggest one. They also got disqualified, and I don't know why. I feel like it's probably one of those situations where the team just didn't want to play together anymore. And you can't change your roster between qualifying and the DPC. I mean, you can have subs, but you're going to run out of subs. So, yeah. So that's just one of those situations. But other ones I think have been like match fixing or account sharing and shit like that. That's been all over the place. Good to see the like Valve cracking down on that, I guess. But other than that, I just generally feel like this is kind of esport game kind of about to go on the decline. I feel like match fixing is definitely going to be a hot topic over the next 2 to 3 years. I'm sure I've said that before in the podcast.
You have, and I still remain lightly less pessimistic about it, I think. I think that like all crime, the more modern society gets, the harder it is to be a criminal. And I think that the more vigilant the audience is and the detection is, the harder it is to match fix an esport. And I think that, people have still been doing it, but more people are getting caught.
I'll be honest, Joey. I feel like most of the people who have done it and got caught have been really stupid about the way they did it.
Well, I would argue
there's been some pretty blatant match fixing that you really can cover up very well in a game of Dota. So I don't know if I fully agree with that. I feel like people can definitely get smarter about it. And I know the opportunity is there because I know pro players just get like cold DM'd all the time. They just get cold DMs all the time about like, hey, you want a match fix? You want to? I'll give you fucking 10 grand right now for like some tier 2, tier 3, like real bad teams and players.
I'm not saying criminals are smart. I would argue that most are the opposite. So maybe they're just not. Maybe they're not good at the crime. Maybe they're not good at the crime.
I would also say is people are more likely to like fully retire from the game. I'm fairly certain there's at least a couple people out there that'll be like, well, fuck it. If I get caught, what the fuck do I care? I'm moving on with my life anyway. There's not going to be probably any blowback on them in real life, you know?
No, like if someone cashes out and gets like a big payday to like fuck something up as they're going out the door, like that's. I'm
Yeah.
sure that makes sense for some people in some situations with some morals, right? Like,
Yeah.
there's
What
a
employer is
mental
going to Google your name, come across that, and then put two and two together, especially if your picture isn't online anywhere in that sort of regard, connected to this? They're going to be like, oh, you're fart sucker 69, like you match fixed in 2023, like So
I want to play a game with Fart Sucker 69.
I don't.
Why? Man. I saw the post of people who were using like the AI to try and
Mhm.
show like account sharing tendencies. And my takeaway was actually less about the account sharing and more about how really cool it was that the AI was able to identify player habits in Dota
Oh
in
yeah,
game
yeah.
and being able to like really just pick apart that it was not this person. Because if you're gonna share accounts, that seems so crazy. Like, okay, if you were to hop on my account and play a game in a tournament for whatever reason, there are so many little things that if you're
Yeah.
trying to hide it, you would have to rewire your brain to do that I do in Dota to like even have an attempt at making it look real.
Yeah, just
Like,
as simple as the hotkeys on your item slots. Fucking that is gonna fucking mind fuck you.
my boots always in the bottom left of the inventory. Always.
Okay.
If you were playing a game and
Doesn't matter. So it doesn't matter if it's tranquil boots that have no active versus phase boots that do.
correct, and the hotkey is Z.
Weird.
So I only use Z as a hotkey for boots, and if my boots don't have a hotkey, I'm just not pressing Z that game. But if you were playing on my account and you had the boots in the wrong spot, like crazy giveaway. My blink dagger is always in the top left, because I use space for blink, and my first item slot is bound to space on autocast. I box a lot from playing StarCraft. I do a lot of box selecting just for no reason, and just shit like that, right? Forget camera pan movements, like that seems impossible to mimic.
Yeah. I just hope that the AI thing. I hope that it does, because I just think that it's a thing, and I think we need to be vigilant about it, because that is definitely one of the big death tolls of any esports. You want to talk about some other esports stuff real quick? I got there's the new Reddit thread. Trent put this out there. He said, when one team was playing their last match at TI, one player turned to the other and said, quote, "You are the most toxic player I've ever played with, and I will never play with you again." Holy fuck, what a thing to say in a TI match. Mamma mia.
What? What if that's like some reverse psychology?
What?
Do we
like
know?
They're trying to motivate them?
Yeah, exactly. like they're nagging somebody to really get the best out of them.
I don't think calling somebody a piece of shit really like motivates them very much, unless it motivates them to punch you in the face.
How did you said Trent shared this? Did he say?
Yeah, Trent shared this.
Who was doing this? Or
No,
how
he
knows,
did.
or?
He did not. No.
Oh.
The Reddit thread is full of people trying to guess. You got any guesses? Who do you think? Who do you think?
Main stage, he said.
He just
arena?
said their last match at TI.
Oh. Oh, that can be so many people.
Yeah.
That could be so. I
But,
thought we were talking
well,
about a main
okay.
stage.
Can it, though? You cut out all the Chinese teams. Done. Probably. Right? Probably. Unless Jack shared this info with Trent, probably cut out all the Chinese teams. Probably cut out all the Southeast Asian teams. You're probably just left with North and South and North American and Western European teams. So most of the field is already narrowed down.
I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna throw a dart at a board,
Okay.
but the dart board that I'm throwing the dart at is actually just one piece of cork board that says Quincy Crew. So there's not anywhere else to hit, because everywhere I throw the dart, it just says, I'm sorry, Sonics. The entire dart board is just a Sonics logo. That's my guess. Because they performed really poorly.
Yeah.
Their whole thing imploded.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's funnier if it's an NA thing. Trent probably has friends who may have given that information to him. More likely from Quincy than other teams. So that's my final answer. I think if I were to put Vegas odds on it, the odds on favorite is Quincy.
I was gonna do some guessing, but I feel like I shouldn't. Just because people might... Any names I put out there are just going to be bad. Any teams or names that I put out there. Because I have no inside information about this, but I feel like people would assume that I have some sort of inside information about them
stuff,
being
like
toxic.
Just trying to vary, just like, yeah.
Like, even if I don't know this specific instance, like maybe I know other instances of them being toxic or something like that. So... You people are not expecting to like have inside information like that. So.
I did not know about this until Austin said something 2 minutes ago.
Yeah, it's a very new Reddit thread. I thought it was super fucking funny. I see this and I was just like, holy fuck, that is some TI drama. I want to see that, you know? I want to see that on free to play or whatever the fuck. True Sight. God, I always say free to play. I want to see that on True Sight. Yeah. Oh, apparently fucking Kyle showed up and said confirmed in that Reddit thread.
Oh, it's 100% Quincy. Because I don't think it's EG. And I mean, who else is talking to the NA boys about it? It's some NA drama for sure.
Yeah, probably. Toxic NA. Classic. All right, that was it.
That's it. All right, friend. Well, you know what? Toss me a Patreon question.
Okay.
Let's pull up one that.
I see Vermilion. Okay, we already answered that one. Okay. Hey, this is a big one. Insurance Bro 14 says, "What changes would you make to save the NA Dota scene?"
Stop whatever that last thing we're talking about. Less of that.
Yeah. Less of that.
Less of that.
This ties into something else that I saw today. Dendy put out a tweet today that said his experience on USC's matchmaking has been pretty good. Who said that NA was a bad server to play on? You know? Man's having a great time. The same time I saw that, exclude my griefed games that I personally played, right?
Yeah. More than zero.
I was watching, winding down the evening, I was eating some nachos, watching some high-level pubs, top 100 NA pubs, okay? I watched Sumail play Leshrac, and then I watched Gunnar play Lone Druid. Both of those games got griefed. So I'm just going to say that Dendy must be a small sample size. Also, I do think Dendy specifically probably has some impact on the game, you know? Not like in Western Europe, in his servers, you know, there is no novelty there. But Dendy, here in NA, there's some novelty. Oh, I love Dandy. You know, like people are gonna try harder and probably less likely to grief the game because he's in it. I will just say that I think that is what you need to save NA. I think the US East matchmaking server is the worst server of any server that I've ever played in. And I've played in Southeast Asia. I've played in Western Europe. I've played, I mean, Eastern Europe, but like, let's be honest, like everybody, like all the Russians are going to play on Western Europe, just like everybody in NA and SA plays on US East because we're all trying to get into like the best games possible. We all conglomerate on one server because we're all trying to get the highest MMR games we can possibly get. So I played on US East. I played on Europe West. I played in Southeast Asia. I played in China. Granted, I didn't understand what the fuck was going on in China.
You
That
don't
was
know if
that
you're
was
being
some sort of
griefed.
like no, I knew I was being flamed. I knew I was being flamed because I was getting pinged a lot. Because there was some sort of meta going on at the time where people just were five manning everywhere, and it was to such an extreme that it hurt my North American brain, which naturally is very greedy.
Mhm.
Everybody needs to farm, farm, farm. And I am not that person, but like we five man to such an extreme amount. And I'm just watching like waves of creeps die to tower that like sometimes I wouldn't be there and I would immediately get pinged. It would just ping, 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 ping. I don't know what the fuck was going on with that meta, but it was just nonstop five manning and smashing into each other all the time. That was a wild, wild one.
I have a thing, but I don't have a solution for it.
Okay.
Um, I think we need to make Dota a game that teenagers want to play.
Oh yeah.
And
I mean, that is a big problem with there is no saving NA when it comes to Dota because there is no fresh talent. Not really.
yeah,
So in order to save NA, we need to import talent. So that's really the future. We need more bait, basically. We need more people to come to North America because our player base is, I think, the probably the smallest of all the major regions, if I had to guess. In
how
fact, I
many?
think I've seen the numbers behind this. Like South America, definitely bigger than North America, and obviously Western and Eastern Europe are bigger as well. So
I would love to see the data on what percentage of U.S. or North America based players are under the age of 20. Like if you were to do like
yeah,
age proportion, I know that we've done like similar data polling on Reddit before, and those numbers are they're probably skewed for a bunch of reasons, but I'm curious how many people under the age of 20, how many people who are teenagers who are playing Dota, and I think that that's the death of something not now, but in an eventual number of years, right?
yeah. I
So
mean, you just see the same teams at the top for North America for the last few years, with some individual player names switched out. No new talent. I mean, evil geniuses were notorious about they would just never recruit within NA. They just thought everybody in NA sucked, and so they would just never recruit within NA. And that's where the meme of like them pulling in Eastern European players to play offlane turn carries into offlaners or whatever.
yeah,
Like that they were just notorious about like not pulling within their own region, and maybe that's for a good reason. But either way, like you just saw the same team names and mostly the same player names at the top, and like just imagine if like evil geniuses like that ODG, the now Shopify Rebellion. Imagine if like all those guys just retired, you know, and like Quincy Crew like it
then what?
suffered a bigger death than they actually did, and like more of those players left and went somewhere else or stopped playing entirely. Like NA would just be like probably not competitive on the international scene at all for maybe a full year. Part of it is international experience, right? I'm not saying like the third or fourth best North American team can't possibly compete in international, but they need to get there. They need to
They'd
play
be
those
so
games.
green.
They need
Yeah.
to yeah. So it's just but also just a general lack of new upcoming talent. in NA. So the only way to save NA is to import. And I think also that nobody, like, again, I think that there is a trickle down effect of the behavior and the matchmaking and like how people act in pubs and how extreme the griefing is in US East affects the NA pro scene. And I mean, the attitude is just terrible, I think, in NA. And I think it does uh, impact certain players. I mean, like, I know that like some players have been judged by like other teams of players and been like, I don't want to play with that person because like of their just like the way they behave in like pubs and stuff like that. That's a real thing that happens. And it's not setting you up to be a good teammate either. Even
Nope.
if you are a different person in a team than you are in a pub, like it's not setting you up for it's not good practice. It's not setting you up for success. It's not good habits to form mentally speaking, right? I don't know. I honestly don't think that NA can be saved.
I naturally want to disagree because that would create conversation and we
But
could
then you'd be
talk
wrong,
about
and
it.
you know
But
you'd be
then I would,
wrong.
and I really don't like being wrong. I don't know. I don't want to be preaching to our audience because I think so many of them are probably the people who are fighting the good fight, like truly, like the vast majority of people who are listening to us right now. But
What we're
keep being
preaching to the
nice.
choir,
Keep
and the
being
choir
nice.
loves being preached to. That's why they go to church.
Hallelujah.
Exactly. They're loving hearing this right now.
That's true. Probably. Um, so you save NA by not saving NA, or just by having some conversation, some combination of being nice, not having shitty pubs, and getting more people to play the game.
Yeah, none of those things are going to happen. Let's be real. So the only real solution is importing talent.
Well, on that super happy note,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go.
SA is the future, baby. Let North America burn.
Let's just, you know what? Hear me out. As someone who is bleeding, very red, white, and blue,
Mm-hmm.
we should just combine the Americas, and we just call it America. And
It just goes in a cycle, right? Where NA dominated, like playing with the SA teams. The SA teams never got to go through these qualifiers, and then we're gonna go back to that period of time. Except for now, it's the SA teams are gonna gatekeep all the NA teams out of these lands.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Not really. It'll be interesting. I mean, this conversation will be so much more interesting once we get data from how the NADPC season and both the SADPC season go, which is soon. I mean, people are getting on planes to start to travel to their respective hubs and studios soon. You're probably leaving soon. Next time we talk,
Yeah,
you'll
I gotta
probably
leave in like 2 days.
Yeah, next time you talk, you'll be across the world. And again, no pressure. Just like a Pringle size hole in your suitcase.
No.